Welcome to Ask Matt.
All right, what's up? This is Ask Matt. It's been incredibly long since I've done an Ask Matt episode, and I figured I would try something a bit differently. So rather than the old ones where I would go live on YouTube and answer questions live, I decided instead to put out to ask you guys on Facebook and Instagram to submit your questions. And then today, right now, I am picking some of them and answering them in a more pre-recorded fashion. Hopefully you notice this is going to be a bit different. If you don't notice, then I'm a little bit concerned, but thank you very much for, taking the time out of all of the million things you could be doing to tune into this. Hopefully that's a good decision. And that said, let's get into questions. There's a bit of a variety, a lot of Amazon questions here, but a few others I think that I saw come through. And if you missed the Ask Matt format from before, I actually just started a new YouTube channel, and it's called Matt Loberstein Clips. And the idea from this channel came from the fact that I have a long-form podcast coming out soon. It's going to be called The Matt Loberstein Show, where I'm going to be doing deep dive interviews with all kinds of guests. And my idea was that I would also cut out clips, Matt Loberstein on this, guest talks about blah, 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 these short clips on specific topics. And I figured I might as well start this clips channel off now, since I have a ton of clips and a ton of long form content already that a lot of you wouldn't necessarily have watched because it's an hour long or something like that. So I'm cutting it into bite-sized pieces with titles that actually explain what that clip is about. So I will link that in the description below. Definitely go smash the subscribe button to that channel. There is a lot of clips to come from past content, and then all new long form content moving forward will be also chopped up into short clips. So check that out. That said, smash the like button on this video and let's get into the first question. What are the most important things to look at when validating a market? So I'm going to start at the basics with this one because I see a few other questions related that I'll get a little more in depth after this one. So starting at the basics, the most important things to look at when validating a market are, number one, market size. Is there demand where I'm even looking? Is this a product? Is this a market that people are interested in? Whether we're talking Amazon or not. If we're talking Amazon, is there already money flowing here? If we're talking just in general business, is this a need? Do we hear whispers of people wanting what we're thinking about doing? Are there other examples of people that are doing a good job already seemingly, and we think we could do somewhat better in some way and get into that market? We need to get into something where we can validate the market. That is the first thing. That is a big mistake that a lot of new Amazon sellers make. It would make perfect sense that would apply to other industries outside of Amazon as well. But in the Amazon context, a lot of people will show me a product idea and the revenue is dead. And you can't ever expect that you're going to be the first one to prove a new market. Now, obviously there are really standout examples where you do something revolutionary and you do that. That's possible, but it's not necessarily the risk reward profile that most of us are probably looking for when we're getting into something like Amazon FBA. We're not necessarily looking to create this revolutionary, completely new business model that has never existed before. So we're looking for proof that our concept is working. Now, the second thing that is often overlooked and needs to be paid even more attention to in terms of market validation is the level of competition versus that market size. So we have the market size, but then how in balance is that with the competition? And does it provide a landscape such that we think that we can break into that market and do things better and be able to actually achieve our revenue goals, whether we're just somewhere in the middle even? That is the way to look at that. Now, there's obviously a ton of other things you should do to actually make sure your product is going to do well in that market. But the question in terms of how do you know to validate it, those are the most important pieces that I would say. Is this something that is in demand somewhat? And is this something that is not blown out, or it's not too small? Does it have that right balance that I can actually fit in and achieve my revenue goals? How do you make sure you can differentiate your product enough so you can beat the existing listing? Several thoughts. One is that you might not necessarily be just looking to beat a listing in particular. Like that makes it sound like you're tunnel visioned on one particular listing and your goal is to beat them out of their place. This ties into the market size versus competition point on the last one. Is you're not always looking to be the number one. You're not always looking to have everyone else fail just so you can succeed and figure out ways to take them down just so you can get a piece of the pie. It's more about how do you fit into the mix? And obviously you want to try to be the best in a lot of ways. I'll talk about that in just a second, but realize that in most cases, we're not talking about being number one and still hitting, $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $50,000 a month on a product. Markets are all different sizes, and it's not necessarily about singling out one competitor and then figuring out how you're going to beat them out of their spot. Maybe you come in, maybe you never become number one, and that's fine because you're still making more money than you ever thought you were going to with this. So now in terms of differentiating and actually achieving your goals, let's say, rather than just figuring out how to be number one, there's a few things. On one hand, you kind of want to figure out what are all the ways that I can be better. Even these listings that are doing well, do they suck in terms of are their photos lacking in some way? Are their titles, rambling? What are they doing wrong? Those are some ways to start. So you should have multiple angles that you're thinking of, and then moving into the actual product differences, you don't necessarily need 100, but if you have like a big product differentiation and then you can still be better in a few other ways, then that is a pretty compelling case, because we just need to figure out how to be an offer that people are actually going to choose to add to cart and purchase. So a lot of this can come through your actual market research and thinking about, what are people complaining about with this product? These are pretty obvious ones that you may have heard already, but can we look at the negative reviews and figure out what people are complaining about? Less talked about is, can we look at the positive reviews and figure out what it is that people actually like about these competitors, and how can we, emphasize that even more and improve upon this product? And this can also be done a lot through just keeping a sense of what's going on in the world in terms of design and trends, and how can I implement a little bit of that into the product that I'm looking at to give it a fresh new angle. And then a lot of differentiation will also just come down to the way that it's marketed. So do you have a particular avatar, a particular person that you're marketing to? Is it a younger demographic? Is it an older demographic? Is it, that's not even specific enough. You need to get even more specific and figure out what your product is geared towards. And then everything from the design to the way your copy is written is going to be in a cohesive voice that ultimately helps to lead your brand. And those things, when they're all added up, lead to a higher conversion rate on your listing, which is ultimately what you're going to need if you want to convert those potential eyeballs into sales. But to wrap up this question in a more concise way, it ultimately comes down to creating a good offer. And I will link up a video that I made in the past about crafting your offer, and that is what you need to think about. There's so many things. It comes down to price. It comes down to every aspect of what somebody is going to see before making their purchase decision. That is your opportunity to differentiate and make yours a little bit different and make it the choice that people hopefully ultimately choose. This is a good one. How do you find the drive to do something new / progressive after you have been successful and are riding a moderate wave of success? So this is something that I've personally struggled, you could say, a lot with. If you've watched my recent videos over the past month or two, they're more thoughtful topics that I've been diving into, because that's where my head has been for the past year plus, kind of hitting this stride of some level of success, then a lack of ambition. And I think where that comes from is not a place of something being wrong with you. It's just, why would you be ambitious about something that you don't care to achieve? So if you have no reason to try to post up bigger numbers and no reason to try to build a new business, if you're already set or you're already happy, then why the hell would you want to work 18 hours a day on something that you don't even want? So maybe the better question is, why are you trying to motivate yourself towards something that you might not even need to be going for? And I've personally shifted a lot. I've slowed down a lot. I'm trying to do less rather than do more. It's so popular in the entrepreneur space to just constantly be doing a billion things and just trying to go for everything and grasping at every single opportunity that comes your way. That's not a optimal lifestyle, in my opinion. That's not really what we're going for with entrepreneurship. That's not what any of us really set out to when we decided that we didn't want to work for companies and we wanted to have the freedom of time and freedom of money to do the things that we wanted to do with our lives before we die, And so I think the answer is, I guess I don't know. I don't know how to force yourself to be motivated, because I tried to do that for a while, and instead I've just become more comfortable and happy with like where I'm at and still doing things, but focusing more on the new things that I'm starting and working on more, putting more of my time into are things that I want to do. And they're not necessarily the biggest opportunities that are in front of me, but they are things that are more exciting to me. They're more of things that I would just want to do anyways. Those are the types of things that you would want to do anyways. So why try to force yourself into something that you don't want to do? We all have an idea, a goal, or a lifestyle. We are working towards the freedom to do what we want, when we want, and to have the cash flow to do so. What has been your biggest unforeseen challenge with the success you've had so far? So funny enough, I didn't read that before the past answer, but I would actually say it is what I was just speaking about. And it was that I hit this burnout period, and I think to a large extent I'm still there. I made a recent video about burnout that I was really happy with how that video came out. Hopefully a few of you will check that one out, since not a lot of you have, so hopefully you will. I really like that video, but I'm still dealing with that, and that has probably been the biggest unforeseen circumstance, because if you had talked to me 2 years ago, and actually you can, because you can just look at what I said on YouTube 2 years ago. I was saying about how I did this, and now up until this point, I've done a small business that I leveraged into a small medium business. And then I took my small medium business and I leveraged it into a medium large business. And now I'm going to go and build an extra large business. And I just kept thinking I was just going to keep doing this. And instead I hit a point where I'm like, well, what the hell am I doing? I don't necessarily just want to work more and go after things that I don't even want, just to be able to prove that I can, or to be able to have bigger numbers than everybody else. That wasn't the point. So for me, when I get to a level, it's hard to push to the next level because maybe I don't care. So I'm now more focused on things like I'm hoping that the podcast takes off, because I think that'd just be a lot of fun. And I also starting a few new companies. That sounds like I am doing a lot, which I guess I kind of am, but I'm starting some new, more passion projects that I'll talk about maybe in another video soon, or when it comes up. But there'll be things that I'm, open about. You may have even seen me talk about them a little bit in other videos, but that has definitely been the biggest unforeseen thing, is this dip in terms of when I hit everything that I was really going for. It was this, all I found there was almost more confusion about what the hell am I doing, and what do I even want, and what am I really trying to achieve, and what do I want to do next, and do I want to just continue pouring my time into something that is already got me where it's going, or would I rather just put that on autopilot and kind of more maintenance mode, which I've mainly been, that's kind of the approach that I have gone. So yeah, I thought it was just going to be from 100,000 to 1 million to 10 million to 100 million. And instead it's more like, well, now it's facing reality and thinking about my life and how I want to really spend it, and what I want to focus on, and how I want my days to look, and, drilling into how I'm managing my time, and the relationships, like the people around me and the things that I'm doing, and, even the physical things around me to some extent, not in a super materialistic way, but I just mean, how can I sort of craft the life that I want, which was the goal from the beginning. But I think I went through this sort of delusional phase in the middle where I just thought it was bigger, more. I just have to do everything. And now it's more about declining opportunities, and it's more about just like not even really caring to go to the next level, you would say, in terms of proving my entrepreneur worthiness to the internet and stuff like that. It's more just about how do I really get closer to the life that I want. Did you pay for your reorder of your first product from profit? And did you pay for your second product from a profit or use your savings? Basically a cash flow in the beginning question. I mean, I can tell you what I did 4 or 5 years ago, and then I can also tell you what I would maybe recommend. What I did was, I mean, I was leveraging the shit out of credit cards back then. I mean, I was still in my iPhone flipping business, and I was just, that's what I was doing. So as soon as I saw any life off of my $800 initial investment on Amazon FBA, I didn't even think about which money it was, whether I was, some of this is just kind of in your head. It's like, am I thinking of this as money I already have or money that came from profit? It's like, either way, it's kind of all the same, right? I mean, however you want to classify it in your mind, I guess. For me, it was just as soon as I saw that viability and I had even more confidence based on how it had started to go, I placed that next order and I ordered more of the first product. I mean, I didn't go straight to the second product. I guess you could say by the time I was ordering the second product, I was having the first was paying for itself, of course. I mean, that has to be kind of happening. I wouldn't try to launch a second product and put strain on an existing working product because that's a risk that you shouldn't take. So rather, once the first gets to a point where you can fund a second comfortably, that is when I did that. So it was out of profits at that point. I didn't have like an endless supply of savings that I just kept funneling into the business. So that's how I would do it for me. For you, I would say, eventually you can get to a point where you use lending and you use outside debt, good debt, to fund your proven products, to fund your existing products. And then that way you can use your profits to fund new products and new expansions. That is something that Ryan Moran has talked about. I got that from him, that way of thinking about it. It is just a way of thinking about it. Rather, I mean, in you get what I mean? Is like the money could be the same amount of money, and you're just thinking about which money is where, when really it's the same amount of money. But you start taking on loans, and then that is technically funding your existing. You're thinking about it that way, and your profits can be funding growth. I think that is a healthy way of thinking about it, and that's definitely where I was. Let's say a year to 2 years beyond my initial first product. Tom Wong asks, what is your biggest regret? That is a deep question. Where my mind immediately went, this might be a weird place for my mind to go, but my mind often goes weird places, as you may or may not know. So what I am thinking of is maybe not a particular event, but just the general fear and anxiety and how worried I've been my entire life is a regret, because most of it is unnecessary, and most of it was for things that ultimately ended up okay, ultimately worked out, ultimately will work out. I'm not cured of this, and this is still a lesson to myself, because I shouldn't be spending any, or at least very little time freaking out about what's going to happen, because everything is going to work out in some way or another. Even if we all end up freaking, broke and whatever, like we have people, we'll figure it out. Like most of these scenarios are not as end of the world as it seems. So regret / what would I tell myself, 10 years ago is just calm the hell down. Like try to enjoy yourself. I was a very depressed, anxious kid growing up. I had a great childhood. I don't mean it in anything like that, but I mean, for the most part, that was kind of my attitude, especially through, high school, middle school, high school, even most of college. And it's just like, dude, like just try to find things that you enjoy. So I guess my regret would be just that I didn't suck the juice out of life as much as I could have. And that's what I'm trying to move towards now. That's a weird answer, and I don't even know if that answers it, but that's where my mind went. How do you go about hiring people that can actually get the job done. So I don't have a ton of experience with hiring. You know, I'm not out here trying to build a 100-person company. I'm very lean, you know, virtual assistants. It's very small. It's very hands off. It's very remote. So hopefully, I think you're framing the question sort of in that more VA realm rather than thinking of me as some hotshot CEO with a high rise or whatever. But I think a lot of this comes down to people have delusional expectations of what employees can do for you. Like, I need to grow my brand's Instagram, and you know, I heard about this other company that's making $1 million a month through Instagram, so I'm going to hire somebody to do that. And it sounds great in our weird brains, but it's not the way things work. And you, as the business owner, need to lay out what you need. Obviously, that might not be the right answer if you're looking to hire some A-level 6-figure person and you're at that level, then amazing. I've never done that. But for the most part, you are the one that needs to outline what needs to be done and then plug people into that position with clear systems and clear tasks and clear goals, or else that person isn't going to know what the hell you want from them and nothing's going to get done. And then as far as keeping them accountable, I've never had to really do this, but I mean, if they aren't doing the work that they're supposed to be doing, then you got to find somebody new, I guess. And related question, tips for managing a VA. Maybe this is just my style in general. Again, I'm pretty hands off. I'm a pretty laid back boss, I guess you would say. You know, Francis is my main VA. He tracks his own time. I'm not super crazy about it. You know, hopefully he's not stretching it too much in terms of how many hours things take or whatever. But you know, it all just works out. I'm a pretty relaxed person about these things. As long as things are kind of flowing around, I'm not super tracking, super analytical. So my management with VAs really just comes down to messaging with them pretty much daily. So, you know, this is through Skype mainly. Sometimes we have issues and we'll chat on other platforms, but it's really just kind of checking in. We'll have like a running list of tasks that we know are the things that we're working towards. There's obviously always tasks that are on repeat. So there's kind of like the core tasks that somebody needs to accomplish, and those are just kind of expected to be done. That's going to take some time to sort of make those be usual in the Amazon context, or in my experience, that's things like doing customer service every day. That's kind of just implied. And then there's sort of other projects that we're working towards that we just continually kind of check in and give updates. It goes both ways. You know, that's something I've definitely learned ties into what I said about having the wrong expectations is your VA or your employee is going to have expectations of you too. So you have to kind of check in with them, let them know what's going on, let them know what you're working on, because that's the only thing that's going to kind of keep them in line and keep them working on what they should be working on, or else it just becomes this quiet, nobody knows what they're doing kind of mess. So I'm going to wrap this one up here. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this format. I don't know if this is a recurring thing. I'm just testing it out. Honestly, I have not really been feeling like making videos the past 10 days or so. I had a really good streak of 2-3 videos a week for like 2 months, but YouTube, it's just hard, and not much was happening. So I took a little bit of a break, and this is kind of just my way of getting back in the swing of things, hopefully. And you know, we'll see where it goes, but let me know in the comments what you thought of this format, if I should bring back live streams if you prefer that, or if I should do this every once in a while. Check out the Matt Loberstein Clips channel. You'll see, for example, from this video, all of these answers will be chopped up into individual clips with titles based on, you know, that topic, and that's going to be happening for the podcast, which is the other thing I want to tell you about. That is coming soon, hopefully within a few weeks or so. I'll have some to crank out. But yeah, thanks so much for sticking with me. And whether you're starting on Amazon or whatever it is that you are doing, I wish you the best. I'm definitely rooting for you to achieve whatever it is that you're achieving, and you know, chill out and enjoy life. And you can of course check out everything in the description. There is the Zero to Brand course if you are ready to dive in and do an A to Z program, everything you need to know about starting your Amazon FBA brand. That is available, as well as tools and resources related to Amazon are down there. Smash the like button on this video, and you can also follow me on Instagram at Matt Loberstein. And other than that, see ya.